Good morning, everybody. Grade 1A. Welcome to a lovely Tuesday morning. I saw you guys all wrote or drew a picture of your character for your story. Great job. We're not going to do any more of that today, but tomorrow we will. Also, I saw some of you guys made water slides. That's pretty fun. So today I have another Bible story to tell you, and we're going to continue the stories about King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, who was not a good wife because she made King Ahab turn to Baal, her God, which we know. And in today's story, we're going to see that he is actually not a real God. They thought he was the God of the weather, the rain and the sun and the storm. But today's story, we will see who is the living God. Well, in this picture, we have the picture of King Ahab, and he has just been told by Elijah that the Lord God said that there will be no more rain on the land until the Lord God says. And this was a serious thing because we know that things need rain to grow. And God looked after Elijah the prophet, right? He sent him down to the brook where he could have water. And for the next 3 years, boys and girls, not 1, not 2, but 3 years, God did not send any rain. And there was a famine everywhere. People did not have enough food to eat. This was terrible. What was King Ahab going to do? And Elijah, remember, he was brought to the brook, a brook Cherith, where there was water, and the ravens would feed him day and night, bread and meat. And when the brook dried up, God had sent him to Zarephath, where there was a widow. Do you remember that? Yeah. Now, after Elijah had been in Zarephath for quite some time, Elijah left Zarephath and he started traveling the way of the arrow south back into the land of Israel, where King Ahab had been searching for him, but King Ahab had not yet found him. Now, the people in this area were desperate for food. They really, really needed something to eat, but yet there was nothing. They had prayed to Baal, the false god, hoping that Baal would send down rain, but he had not. And King Ahab had asked one of his servants, someone who did love the Lord, Obadiah, to help him look for grass for the cows. And he said, why don't we split up? Why don't you go one way and I'll go the other way? And let's see if we can find some grass to keep our horses and our mules alive. And so they started searching. Now, as Obadiah was walking along, boys and girls, he suddenly met Elijah on the road. After 3 years, he hadn't seen Elijah for a very long time. And Obadiah, what did he do? He immediately fell on his knees and he bowed to the ground and he asked, is it really you, Elijah? And Elijah replied, yes, go tell King Ahab, I am here. And Obadiah was worried at first. He thought, well, what if I leave you and I tell King Ahab and I come back here and you're gone? Then King Ahab will surely kill me. And so Elijah promised Obadiah, I will not leave. I will stay here. Go to King Ahab and tell him that I am here. So what did Obadiah do? Obadiah obeyed and he rushed to find King Ahab and told him that he had found Elijah the prophet. Boy, was King Ahab glad. Now when the king saw Elijah, this is what he said. How did he greet him again? He said, is it you, you troubler of Israel? And Elijah replied, I have not troubled Israel, but you have, and your father's house, because you have stopped listening to the commandments of the Lord. Instead, you have married Jezebel, a woman who does not love the Lord, and you have started to worship Baal, the false god. Now, I ask you, or I command you, you need to gather all the people from Israel and meet me on Mount Carmel. And you also need to take along the prophets of Baal, all the prophets of Baal. So King Ahab listened. He sent messengers throughout all the land, telling everybody to meet at Mount Carmel, along with all the prophets of Baal. And there they were, all the Israelites listening to Elijah. And Elijah had a message for them. And he said to the people of Israel, how long will you flip-flop between worshiping Baal or worshiping God? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. Elijah is saying to the people, just like God says to us, you cannot serve two gods. You need to choose which one is a true God and serve him alone. And the people did not know what to say. So Elijah continued, I am the only one of the Lord's prophets left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Go and get 2 bulls for us. And let Baal's prophets choose 1 bull. Let them make an altar and let them cut the bull into pieces and let them pray to the Lord and see if let them pray to Baal and see if Baal can bring down fire upon this their bull. And then I will also cut down a bull and make an altar, and I will pray to my God, the real living God, and ask him to send fire down. And we will see who is the real God that we must worship and adore. So that's exactly what the prophets of Baal did. They chose their bull, they cut it into pieces, and they placed it on the wood on their altar. And you know what they did from morning all the way till lunchtime? They started dancing around the altar, shouting, Baal, answer us. They started praying to God. And do you think Baal answered them? Of course not, because Baal is not a real God. And at lunchtime, Baal had still not answered them, and Elijah started making fun of them and said, maybe you need to shout louder. Maybe he can't hear you. Maybe he's traveling right now, or he's busy, or he's thinking so much. Shout louder, prophets of Baal. So they shouted louder, and they even started cutting themselves with knives so that blood would start gushing out of their arms. And noon and lunchtime passed, and the afternoon passed, and Baal still did not send down any fire. Why not? Because he was not a real God. And the prophets of Baal became more angry and more frustrated as time went on. And then Elijah gathered the people around him. And he grabbed 12 stones to represent all the tribes of Israel. And he gathered them and he laid them nicely. And then he dug a trench around it, just like you see in the picture here. And he sacrificed the bull and placed the meat on top of the wood. And then Elijah gave a very strange order. He told his servants, grab 4 jugs and fill them with water. And then he poured this water on top of the meat. And he poured all those jugs empty. And the water came off the altar and went all around. Now, what we know about wet wood is it does not usually start a fire. If your dad or your mom is making a campfire at night, they will never look for wet wood. They will always look for the driest wood, because that is the wood that will catch flames. And so Elijah was going to show the people that God can do anything. He is in control of everything. Even what we cannot do, he can do. And so then Elijah started to pray to God, and he asked God to send down fire. And what do you think happened? Well, you can see it in the picture right there. God sent fire from heaven, and it took over the meat and the altar and everything. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." And then Elijah said to his soldiers, "Go and grab all the prophets of Baal and capture them and bring them to the valley and kill them, so that they will not let the people of Israel fall away from the Lord their God." And so that day, all the prophets of Baal were killed. And the people saw that Baal was not a real God, but that the real God was the Lord, the same God that we serve today. What a story, isn't it, boys and girls? Wouldn't you have liked to be there to witness this miracle? But what we can take from it is that God, he is the real God. And we can never serve two gods. We always must serve one God. All right, boys and girls, have a great day today, and I will see you soon.